Hi, Dr. Little. How are you?
I'm good, Marianne. How are you?
I'm good. It's great talking to you. How long have you been a physician? Or let's say this, when were you in medical school?
I graduated medical school in 1993, so it's
Okay.
been a while.
Yeah. So at that time, did you ever think you'd be where you are now?
No, it's been a pleasant surprise.
Yeah. And how do you think you got here? Like what
Uh,
gets someone, especially a woman in medicine, to keep going up?
it just kind of depends where you end up and how things happen. And, in this day and age with all the mergers and everything with medicine, a lot of it ends up being beyond your control. But I ended up in New Jersey at this group by dumb luck. My husband had gotten a job up here before I finished school. So when I was looking, I just ended up looking up here.
So you were married in medical school?
So I got married the weekend before I graduated from medical school.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was a
Wow.
crazy time. And then moved the next week. So it was a
Were you
little,
planning a wedding in medical school?
I was, and actually it turned out pretty well because a lot of fourth year is elective rotations and people always pick easy things to do because you have to, take exams and stuff. So I had a couple of easy rotations in the middle of that year. And that's pretty much when I did all the planning.
That's funny. I don't know that most non-medical people would think of any rotation in medical school as being easy, but
Well, it
okay.
depends.
Yeah, okay. So, so as you're working your way up, being female, are there additional difficulties?
I I think so. I mean, I think a lot of it we put on ourselves. Um, you know, I think we expect people to treat us differently, and I think people do treat us differently. And I feel like you have to be better than most of the guys around you, and work harder and prove that you're where you should be and that you're good enough to be there.
Was there ever a time where you just got tired of having to do that?
No, you just at the time, this was before all the hashtag Me Too stuff, and at the time, it is what it is, and if you want to do it, this is what you do.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I didn't really have too much, harassment or anything like that, as far as what some people have to go through.
Yeah.
They picked on me to answer tough questions during rounds and that sort of thing, but I didn't really have any horrible, experiences that
Yeah.
a lot of people have had to put up with.
When you say they picked on me, what do you mean?
So they, saved the hardest question for me that no one else knew, or they'd try to put me on the spot to, see if I would fall on my face or mess it up, or if I knew what I was doing. But, that just requires a little bit of preparation ahead of time, so you know what you're doing.
And this was in med school, you mean?
This was in med school. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you think it's that way today for young women in med school?
I hope not, but my guess is it probably is.
Wow.
I mean, there are definitely more women in medicine than there used to be,
Yeah.
and I definitely think it's improved dramatically. And particularly in the past 5 years with all the other stuff going on, I think they're probably making more of a concerted effort to
Yeah.
keep things fair than they used to. But particularly, the male-dominated specialties like surgery, I'm sure it's still there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So can you think of was there some pivotal moment that really pushed you forward?
So I worked for 2 years before I went back to med school after college because I couldn't decide what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do science, but I had done some research work as an undergrad with a woman and I had really enjoyed it. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to do research and get a PhD or go back to med school. So I took 2 years off and I worked in a research lab full time. And I was taking graduate classes and was taking an anatomy class the fall of the second year that I was doing this, which was when I was applying and taking the entrance exams and all that stuff. And the teacher turns out to have been the head of the admissions committee on the medical school, for the medical school, which I didn't know at the time. And she actually is pretty much the reason I got in. I really liked her. We kind of clicked and I was doing well in the class. And then we kind of started having conversations and she's like, all right, well, if you want to come here, I'll help you out. So I think she's probably the one who helped me the most.
Wow. Do you think she helped you a lot because you were another woman?
I think that had a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, at that time they were trying to get women in medicine. So I think certainly she, probably had that inkling.
Yeah. Have you found that in your career that women are looking to support other women?
For the most part, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So in a leadership position, you're open to criticism. How do you handle that?
Better than I used to. Uh, starting out, you want to please everybody and you want to, do the best you can. And when you're first starting out, you want to make everyone happy. And at the end of the day, you can. That's one of the things I've learned in the past 20 years is you can't make everybody happy no matter what you do.
Yeah.
So I come in, I try to do my best for everybody. I try to treat people like they're my family. And at the end of the day, if that rubs them the wrong way somehow, at least I've tried the best I know how to do.
Yeah. That's really hard to reach that point.
It's hard. It took me 20 years.
Yeah.
And some days I'm better at it than others. Some days I still take it very personally. But
do you think to be successful, to be a leader, that you have to have some level of toughness?
Yes. And I mean that not in that you need to be nasty and mean to people, but I expect a lot of people, myself more than anybody else. And I tell people what I expect of them and expect them to kind of live up to it unless there's some extenuating circumstance, obviously. But I think when people see me willing to go above and beyond and push myself and do everything that I'm asking them to do, they're much more willing to jump in line and help me. And it's a kind of collaborative effort. Let's try to get this done together. But I do think you have to have a streak of toughness to get yourself as well as other people around you where you need to be.
Sure. Okay. And for women who are looking for leadership roles, what holds them back?
I think we hold ourselves back more than anything else. I mean, I think it's a matter of you listen to the noise around you and people, telling you you're not as good as the guy sitting next to you, or your expectations are different because you want to have a family and you want to work and you don't think you can work it all out. So I think you just have to try and you'll figure out something. It may not be what you envisioned when you were 20, but it'll work out.
Yeah. If there are women who are entering the medicine and are intimidated by whoever, what is your advice to them? How do they get through that?
It's hard. I can't tell you how many days I went home crying because someone made me feel stupid or, did something to me that made me feel less smart or whatever.
Yeah.
And all I can say is, and my family would say it's because I'm stubborn, but all I can say is get up and do it again. You're going to fail. You're going to have people tell you you can't do things. And anytime anyone tells me I can't do something, it's the best way to get me to do it.
Yeah. When you were younger, did that happen a lot? Because that's hard.
It depended. Some rotations more than others.
Yeah.
Surgery a lot. Some of the others not so much. I mean, it just depends on the atmosphere around you. Surgery where I was kind of malignant. But at the end of the day, my best references came from surgeons. So,
About that.
Don't ever let them see you cry. It's okay to cry, but don't let them see you do it.
Yeah. Now, see, there's this new way of thinking that it's like, no. If you want to cry, you should be. Do you think that's changed, or do you think that's still a good rule?
I don't know. I guess for me and my experience, and I never would let them see me cry ever.
Yeah.
If my eyes were red when I came back and they wondered if I cried, that's okay. But I would walk out of the room, and it was honestly mostly out of frustration that it happened. But you get so angry and frustrated, you want to bash your head against the wall, and I cry. Everyone deals with it a little bit differently, but so I don't know. My experience, at least for me personally, is that I'm still not going to let them see me cry. But, that may not be the answer, but that's how I got through it.
Okay. How many children do you have?
3
You have 3.
girls.
You have 3 girls. I have 3 girls. I didn't know that about you. Oh, how about that?
Uh,
How old are they?
the oldest is 18, and I have twins who are 16.
Okay. So what's it like being a doctor while your girls are growing up?
So there were times when, I live in this suburb where all the moms stay at home and go to all the kids' functions and make pretty brownies for So at times it made me feel inadequate because I wasn't doing all of that. I did what I could, and I made it to some things and not everything else. I tried to get to the more important things, but it just doesn't always work out.
Yeah.
And it was hard. I will tell you now, when my kids are teenagers and we talk about it, they don't even remember.
Yeah.
That I wasn't there. So, I think it was more me personally than they were upset about it. And they've turned out to be fantastic kids despite what I've done to them. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I totally get that. It's hard when you bring store-bought cookies to the
and spent hours decorating all the Halloween cupcakes or whatever. So,
yeah, that's hard. That makes you feel like a bad mom.
Yeah, it does, without a doubt. But the kids, at least my kids, didn't think so. So, however it is, it worked out okay for us. So.
Right. All right. One thing that you realize has helped you move forward in your career?
Stubbornness, pig-headedness, perseverance, I guess, is probably a better word for it.
Yeah.
It's just, you got to keep slogging through. There'll be days you don't feel like doing it. There'll be days you can't do it. But you pick up the pieces and try again the next day. And, you keep going, you eventually get where you want to be. May not be the course or the way you expected to get there, but at the end of the day, you'll get there.
That's right. Terrific. Thank you. It's always great talking to you. Good to see you.
You too. Take care. Happy holidays.